Hi, how you going? Steve Barker from I'm Enough Coaching, and I've come to talk to you today about how you can manage your expectations. That's right. Expectations, they cause us so much pain, they cause us endless worry, endless concern. So how can we actually manage them? So what are expectations? Let's get some language around this first, because if we can't language it, then we can't have it. And I use this term all the time when I'm coaching with my clients and stuff like that. So what do I mean by if you can't language it, you can't have it? A very quick example. Think of the word hot. Remove the word hot from your vocabulary, and on a stinking hot day, how are you going to describe how you feel? Think about it just for a moment. What words could you use to describe hot if you couldn't use the word hot? You might come up with sticky, uncomfortable, humid, close, clammy, but none of these words are actually going to be able to describe what it actually feels like to be hot. So that's why it's important that we get some language around it, because if we can't language it, we can't have it. If we can't have it, we can't understand it, we can't put anything around it, then there's no way that we can actually experience it. So let's be clear on what an expectation is. So an expectation, the definition of an expectation from the dictionary is a strong belief that something will happen or will be the case. So we have a belief around this. You know, this is a feeling that we have. And the word belief conjures up real sorts of connotations for me, especially as a coach. So, you know, we need to go an extra level deeper. We can't just stick with what is the definition of expectation. We have to say, well, if there's a belief in there, what's a belief? So the definition of a belief is an acceptance that something true is going to happen, especially something that cannot be proven. So that's the definition of a belief. Now, my definition of a belief, and you may agree or disagree with this, is a belief is just a story that we make up to back up our environment, to back up the thing that we want to believe in. So we tell a story around it, and it's the story that controls the level of belief that we have in this. So really, an expectation is a story that we tell ourselves about an event that we think is going to happen, or an outcome that's going to be certain, or it's going to be. So that's the definition of an of an expectation, and that's the definition of a belief. And when we mold the two together, it's a story that we make up, that us as an individual make up. I make up all sorts of stories to engage in my beliefs. I believe that Oxford United are the greatest football team in the world. And if you know anything about football, you'll know that's absolute rubbish. But for me to actually believe in that it's a story I tell myself, and I repeatedly tell myself over and over again. So how can we actually manage our expectations? What's the 3 simple steps? And these steps are so simple. If you can drive a car, or you know anything about driving a car, then this is going to be really easy for you to be able to understand and to relate to. So let's think of the first part of how we can manage our expectations. And the first thing that we're looking at really here is an accelerator. Now, the accelerator is the thing that we squeeze in a car to give us power. In an accelerator in our expectations is the thing that gives us our passion, our drive, our ambition, our realization, our hopes, our dreams, our desired outcomes. The accelerator is the thing that we squeeze when we want to be able to feel the expectation. We have a belief, we have a desired outcome. So we can control the accelerator. Now, what happens very often is people get very excited about their expectations. They believe it, and a great way to describe this would be New Year's resolutions. So, you know, we think that after eating and gorging and having a wonderful time over Christmas, that we're going to go to the gym. And our expectation is that we're going to go to the gym for a month and we're going to lose the extra 5 kilos that we put on over Christmas. Really? You know, so how often does that happen? Not very often, unless you're a gym bunny and you really love the gym and you can smash the gym 5 times a week and you can stick to that healthy eating. Most people, though, have an expectation that this is what's going to happen. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough at the moment. They have an expectation around that this is going to happen, and then when it doesn't, their expectations are then dashed. So their expectations are dashed, and what happens is that we have a bit of a crisis inside, and our self-esteem and our self-worth drops. Now, the other problem with our expectations, if we squeeze the accelerator too hard, we're going to start tearing around like a lunatic. We're going to be hooning around in the streets. And when we're going really fast, and you've seen this happen in real life, I'm sure, when you go too fast in a car and nobody's anticipating how fast you're going to clash, you're going to collide, you're going to have a crash with somebody. Now, this is what happens when we have our expectations set too high. It's one of the problems. So we will crash with somebody or something in the environment because we're going too fast. And the problem is, if we crash and clash and bash ourselves up too much, then again, our self-worth, our self-esteem is going to take a bit of a bashing. Now, our self-worth and our self-esteem, and I want to share this with you, is, this is something you get an extra in the video rather than downloading the guide, is that our self-esteem is like a little 5-year-old inside us. Now, our self-esteem is a little person. And it needs to be nurtured, it needs to be cared for, it needs to be told that it's doing really well. It's a typical 5-year-old. You think of any 5-year-old child and you have to care for it, you have to nurture it, you have to tell it it's doing well. It's always looking for validation, it's always looking for the fact that it's doing the right thing. Now, when we're constantly bashing it and crashing it and hurting it, then what happens with a 5-year-old, if you tell a 5-year-old often enough, the 5-year-old will go away and sulk, the 5-year-old will stop trying, will keep, we'll give up. We will not have the tenacity to move forward. And this is what happens with our self-esteem when we bash it too many times. So this is why it's important to manage our expectations, because we don't want to be bashing and crashing and denting our self-esteem all the time, because then we're going to really struggle. Now, the problem then is that sometimes we will outsource our expectations to other people, and we'll go, well, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think is going to happen here? And when we do this, when we outsource our expectations, we've got no control over them whatsoever. And the self-esteem inside of us starts to take a bit more of a kick in, a bit more of a beating, and it gives up. So we need to be able to manage our expectations realistically. And this is why the accelerator is a great analogy, because we can squeeze the accelerator and we can lift off the accelerator. We can squeeze the accelerator and we can lift off it. So when we're lifting off the accelerator, we can control how fast or how hard we go over our expectations, which lead me on to the next part, stage 2. Stage 2 of this 3-step guide. 3 steps? I can't do it with my fingers. There we go, 3 steps. So step 2 is the brake. So we need to be able to have a brake when we're driving a car, to be able to slow ourselves down for corners and negotiate difficult bends and stuff like that. And this is exactly the same with our expectations. When things start to get a little bit tricky, we can manage our expectations. We can even change our expectations, and it's okay to do that. Because, we can't always go just hell for leather, straight, flat down the road and hope that nothing's going to get in our way. So we have a brake. Now, in the guide, I talk about how the brake can be applied by other people. And this is, again, where we outsource our expectations to other people. So I use a story where I talk about Mary, who has got a friend called Sharon, and Sharon gets a job at Mary's place of work. Now, Mary and Sharon are really good friends, and Mary's really excited about this. Mary is looking forward to being able to hang out with Sharon and to be able to talk to her on a different level and to engage on a professional level and show her around work and show her what she does and just create an even greater friendship. So Mary's really excited about this. Sharon turns up at the work the first day and Mary shows her around. She takes her out for lunch. She shows her where all the good cafes are, and everything's great. Couple of days move on, and Sharon is starting to mix with different people. Sharon's working in a different department to Mary, but in the same company. And Mary started to notice that Sharon's spending more time with the people from her department. She's going out for lunch with them. She's not talking to Mary. Occasionally Mary might be able to squeeze in a coffee with her. So, but Mary's starting to feel a little bit dejected and a little bit, let down by Sharon not talking to her. And over a period of time, this generates into a really uncomfortable feeling for Mary, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. And she feels hurt, she feels disappointed, she feels let down by Sharon, who, she was hoping to have a wonderful relationship with outside work as well as inside work, and it just doesn't seem to have happened anymore. And even more, it's impacted the social side of their friendship, and they don't talk to each other anymore. Now, Mary's really disappointed with this. Now, when we break all of this down and we look at the component parts, what Mary's done is she's outsourced her expectations to Sharon. Now, Mary never actually told Sharon that she was looking forward to growing their relationship and building their friendship in the professional environment as much as the personal environment. Mary never spoke to Sharon about this. She never conveyed her expectations. She never said to Sharon, I'm really looking forward to seeing you at work and talking and engaging and growing our friendship to another level. She never actually communicated this. So she assumed that Sharon was going to be there for her, and she was going to assume that this relationship would grow and blossom and all this sort of stuff, but she assumed that Sharon assumed the same thing. So can you see what's going on there? The problem that's happened is Mary has assumed, she's outsourced her expectations to Sharon, and Sharon hasn't jumped on board, and Mary's expectations have come crashing down around her ears, and she feels rejected and hurt and disappointed, and all the sort of things that we feel when our expectations are not met. And once again, what's happening there? Push, push, push. Yeah, the old self-esteem is taking a bit of a battering. Now, the self-esteem, if it keeps taking that battering, it's going to get lower and lower and lower, and we don't want that to happen. So this is important why we manage our expectations ourselves. And if we've got expectations where they're involving other people, then we are going to be able to communicate those expectations to them. And again, if you've got low self-esteem, you're going to have problems being able to discuss this with other people. So self-esteem is really important, and it's as important as being able to manage your expectations. Now, the third, because I can't do it, there are three fingers. The third part of this is the steering wheel. Vroom, vroom, yeah. What does the steering wheel do? Well, as Tony Robbins says, where the focus goes, our energy flows. So where the focus, which is the direction that we want our expectations to go, the energy will flow. Now, the energy is the expectation. The energy is our thoughts, our desires, our wishes for it to come out. Now, if we're not paying attention, if we're not focusing the energy, if we're not focusing where that's going, excuse me, then we are going to have incidents where, I didn't expect that to happen. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever had that moment of I didn't expect that to happen? Well, that is where we are not managing our expectations. It's because we've lost focus on our expectations, and as life happens, as it does, it all comes along and things happen without us expecting them. And expecting is part of expectations. So if you ever have something that happens where you go, I wasn't expecting that, it's because you've taken your eye off the ball. You've been focused on something else. So if you want to realize your expectations, then you're going to have to remain focused. You have to be able to keep your eye on the ball. Excuse me, blimey. So I hope this is all making sense. So we've got the accelerator to control how fast we're going to go. We've got the brake to be able to slow us down and negotiate. And it's important that we maintain control of all of these things. And then we've got the steering wheel, which is where we stay focused and we control the direction of our expectations. These are the three ways that we can manage our expectations. Now, if we don't manage our expectations, what have I said? Your self-esteem is going to take a bit of a kick in. Now, if you give the 5-year-old inside of you too much of a beating, then you're going to lose the self-esteem and you're not going to be able to grow and develop. And this is why it's important to manage our expectations. And only me can manage my expectations. Only you can manage your expectations. You can't expect other people to understand what your expectations are unless you clearly communicate them. Now, when you clearly communicate them and they still don't follow, you can manage your expectations around that by saying, well, I did expect this, or I communicated what I expected from them and they weren't able to meet that standard, and that's cool. Now, I can't control that. I've got no control over what they do or how they respond or how they behave. However, I've been able to manage my expectations because I did communicate to them, and I'm a little bit disappointed, but that's the way things go. So can you see how by being able to manage our expectations, what we're going to be able to do is to manage our outcomes, and we're going to be able to nurture and take care of that 5-year-old self-esteem inside of us. Because if we don't, and we've got low self-esteem, then we really struggle to be able to do other things. And what I want to share with you is, the next level of this, because I've got a simple 3-step stage to managing your self-esteem. Building and growing your self-esteem. How can you grow your self-esteem? Now, self-esteem is something that you can never have too much of. But when you've got a lot of it, you need to be careful. Otherwise, you become a bit of a dickhead and you become arrogant. So I'm sure we know people like that as well. Yeah, I do. But what I'm talking about is we can continue to grow our self-esteem at any point. So this guide that I've got, the self-esteem triad that I want to share with you, And if you're interested, there's a link down below. If you want to grow your self-esteem, you can grow your self-esteem from absolutely nothing all the way up to being great, or you can already have great esteem and just grow it even more, because it's going to give you confidence, it's going to give you self-belief, it's going to be able to enable you to have great relationships, it's going to enable you to be the person that you want to be and to choose and make great decisions. So self-esteem is really important on so many different levels. But the self-esteem triad, which is in the next video, if you click the link below, then you're going to be able to go through this and to be able to grow your self-esteem at any point. And again, it's free, which I can't do, 3 simple stages, and you just keep going around the triad. And each time, you just step it up a little bit. And it gets better and it gets easier. Now, I've delivered this to thousands of people, and it's made a massive impact into their lives. So if you want to be able to grow your self-esteem, say you've taken a bit of a bashing, maybe your expectations have been dashed, maybe you haven't been managing your expectations very well, or something else has just come along to damage you and destroy your self-esteem, then please click on the link below and access this. It's there for you. And it's so easy, it's so simple. It's just like this 3-step stage of managing your expectations. It's another 3-step stage, and I actually explain to you how you can do this and what you need to be able to do and how to do it. It's super, super easy. Now, I use this all the time in my own personal life. Now, if you found this interesting, you found any of this interesting, and you want to know more about personal development, you want to know how you can become the very best version of yourself, then I do lots of videos just like this one in my group called You Are Enough. Now, if you go onto Facebook and you just search You Are Enough, you'll find a group. It's got a picture of a beach at the top of it. And inside that group, there are lots of coaches just like myself, and there is lots of other people who are on the journey, just like I am. I'm on a journey, just like you're on a journey. And this space that I've created in the You Are Enough group is somewhere where you can share your feelings, where you can share your experiences, where you can grow and develop. Other coaches share their insights. Other people share their insights. Other people share their stories. There's lots of inspiration going on, and it's a very safe, friendly environment. And it has to be safe and friendly, because what we're doing in here is we're opening ourselves up to ourselves. And it's really weird when you do that, but so empowering. So if you fancy that, join the You Are Enough group. I'll stick another link down below as well so that you can do that as well. But I hope that you found this guide to managing your expectations really useful. So if you think of your car, think of your accelerator, vroom, vroom. That's how we control our expectations. Oh, dude, please excuse me. The second one is the brake. Now, when you're driving your car, you have to use your brake as much as you use your accelerator. And this is the same when you're managing your expectations and the steering wheel. Okay, don't forget, where the focus flows, the energy goes. So it's important to remain focused. Otherwise, things are going to happen and we're going to go, ooh, didn't realize that, didn't see that, wasn't expecting that. Okay, so, the guide is also available to download, and I really encourage you to be able to do that, because this video combined with the guide, it's going to give you a great insight. So I hope this has served you well. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your ideas. I'd love to hear your experiences. Please share those with me. steve@IamEnoughCoaching.com. Drop me an email or look me up in the You Are Enough group and send me a friend request, and we can have a chat just through Messenger if you want to keep it private. But look, I'm here for you. I'm here to share this information because it's far too valuable to keep to myself. So I'm sharing this with you so that you too can manage your expectations, so that you can nurture your self-esteem. And if necessary, click on the link below, go to the new self-esteem triad guide, and you can build your self-esteem from there. If not, if you're just happy and you want to check out stuff in the You Are Enough group, I will see you there. My name's Steve from I'm Enough Coaching. It's been wonderful talking to you. Please do excuse me for my coughing. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever it is in the world you are. Whatever it is you're doing, stay safe, and I will speak to you soon. Take care. Toodaloo. Bye-bye.